Very good afternoon to everybody. Once again, thank you for being in this session today. As you're aware, today is the final session of the UB Research Essential series. We had 10 sessions over the past 5 weeks, almost 5 weeks. So thank you for those of you who have been very consistent in coming through all the sessions, and we do hope you have benefited from this session. So today's session is going to follow through from where we left off previously. If you see this session, as I've said at the beginning of every session, this essential series is to assist all researchers, not just at UB, but also outside UB, with the aim to strengthen their knowledge and skills in executing good research projects and well-structured publication. Additionally, as you have gone through the program now, you would realize that we have also done a lot of other essentials that you need to know when you are supervising graduate students, whether as a supervisee or as a supervisor. How do you efficiently manage your references and publication process and peer review process, and finally developing your research profile. Students who are coming into this program will also benefit, especially if their aim is to actually to get into a graduate program, especially if you're looking at a research-based graduate program where publication becomes important. So over the past 10 sessions, we've taken you through all the fundamentals of organizing and writing academic research papers, and also the other essential that is required. So we're going to end the session today with trying to build your academic research profile. How do you build this profile in the new norm that we are in? This is critical because everything is online and you need to have an online presence. So in our session today, Ms. Virginia Ballance will actually give an insight of how do you build, what are the ways that you can build your online research profile, which is really critical in the new norm that we are in. So without further ado, I would like to call Ms. Virginia Ballance to share her screen to discuss the topic, building your academic research profile. Ms. Ballance. Okay. Ms. Ballance, your audio is muted. Okay.
Voila. Okay. Sorry about that. So this morning I'm going to talk about building an online academic research profile because the digital age presents lots of possibilities. Traditionally, the academic worked in an ivory tower, focused on producing published articles or book chapters as a way of communicating their research. And they would put together a standard CV. They would attend conferences and academic symposia to discuss their work with other academics. But these days, social media and online networks will let you expand your reach to other academics in new and innovative ways. So I have actually drawn on a book by Stacy Conkiel called The 30-Day Impact Challenge. I've just extracted a few pointers from the book because it's quite comprehensive. The book is free of copyright It has a Creative Commons license that allows sharing. You can look it up and follow through. It'd be a nice summer project to work through all the little challenges that she has. There are loads of options, and each type of social network provides different opportunities to communicate and different levels of engagement. So what are the benefits of using social media? Well, predominantly you can promote your research yourself and increase its visibility to your readers. You can communicate with others directly who have an interest in your research. You don't have to attend a physical conference because you can communicate online. You can therefore discover new people. You can create networks of people interested in a topic. You can reach new audiences both inside and outside academia. Because it's online, anybody can find you and find out about your research, including journalists, the lay public, and so on. You can use social media to seek or give advice and feedback. You can contact people in your field to ask them to look at your papers, or maybe people will contact you. They'll find a paper that you've written and then ask your advice, or ask to mentor with you. You can use social media to generate new ideas. A lot of people use social media to share information and share journal articles. If it's impossible to get an article because it's behind a paywall, you could contact the author directly, and usually they're happy to share. Social media also lets you keep up to date with news and developments, and then you can forward that news directly to someone who's interested in a topic. So there are loads of ways you can use it to connect. And the last one is a kind of interesting point, is that through your social media presence, you can show off your personality to your colleagues. You're not just a boring professor at teaching boring courses, but you have a genuine personality that you can display to others. So, but before you start, you better look before you leap. Think about what exactly do you want to create a social media presence for? What is the purpose? Is it just for connection? Is it to share knowledge? Do you want to share your research? Or what do you want to say about yourself? What are you trying to communicate? What skills are you trying to highlight? Is it your writing, your superior writing skills, your public speaking skills, your instruction skills, and mentoring skills? And then a big question is, how much time and effort do you want to put into updating and maintaining your profile? So all this leads to, well, exactly what kind of social media platforms do you want to use? So I'm going to today look at several social networks, academic social networks. But a first challenge in Stacy Conkeel's book is for you to actually Google yourself and find out what information is out there about you, and is it complete? Because if it's on the internet, you don't want it to be half-baked, a half-done job, because your profile is out there all the time. So make sure what information is out there is correct. So you look for variations of your first name, your last name, variations on initials. If you're a woman and you've married and changed your name, are there articles and information about you with your single name or your married name or your double-barreled name? Or if you are from a country which uses suffixes like junior or filho, whatever, Are those things there, or do they obscure how your name is seen on internet? Make sure your email address is up to date, because people might use it to contact you, and update your place of employment. So that's your first challenge. What is out there about you? So I will just say also, I'm only going to talk about 5 academic social media networks. There are many others. Some are very discipline specific. But remember, the internet is generally a starting point for many people's searches about people and topics. So you want to really make sure the information about you is correct, that it's put there by you and has current contact information. So the academia.edu is a Facebook-like site. It's commercial, has about 11 million users. It has certain features up to a certain point, after which you need to join and pay. It tends to be very multidisciplinary, but heavily used by linguists and sociologists, like humanities, basically. When you search Google Scholar, academia.edu results are highly visible. There are some problems about the fact that it uses that .edu suffix to the website, because it's not an edu, it's actually a .com. I will note that if you do access an article in academia.edu and you have a membership, or you've got a profile there, you get bombarded with recommendations and suggestions. They come in your email. But it's a good site. The other one, another one is ResearchGate. Again, it's free, it's multidisciplinary. In order to join, you need to have one publication in order to create your profile. It's like Facebook. You can follow other registered users, or if you have co-authors, they will be automatically assigned to your account, so that you can see what they're up to. It's really good for you to be able to send messages and interact and discuss issues inside the site. They will send you notification when your articles have been viewed and downloaded. It also gives you what they call an RG score to measure your research impact. Some problems with it, there's no way to filter out non-scholarly articles. Because you can attach articles to your profile, there's no way to filter out copyright violations and non-scholarly, or articles published in non-scholarly journals. It's a good site for archiving your articles and pre-publication articles. So you could put up a conference paper and ask for others to comment on it, so it's good for that. Mendeley, which we discussed in another of these sessions, is a reference management tool. It started that way. It's fantastic for that. And they have slowly added other features, one of which is an academic social network. They created a collaborator database. So based on the disciplines that you're interested in working, it'll suggest people who you might want to get in contact with. It allows you to create groups to share papers. It integrates really well with Science Direct database. The groups, when you create them, can be public or private. If it's private, you can annotate documents to share. Otherwise, the notes are not shared with others. Google Scholar is a free academic social network, you need a Google account. When you create a Google Scholar profile, it adds publications to your profile. So you need to watch out for people with similar names and remove them. So it'll ask you, is this yours? Is this yours? And you also have the option of excluding articles which are not really scholarly, let's say editorials and newspaper articles, if it picks them up. You can make your profile public or private. I recommend having a public profile so that people who are interested in one paper that you have, if they find it, they will be able to click on your name and retrieve everything under your name. It gives statistics on your research. It gives what they call the H index, which is the last year or the past 5 years on how often your papers are cited. You can set up alerts in Google Scholar for publications by keyword, authors, institutions. It's a great way to find out if your articles are cited by asking it to send you an alert whenever your name pops up. It's recommended to use Google Scholar profile as a publication list for your CV because it includes the impact factor of your research. Another network, though not an academic social network, is LinkedIn. It has a completely different audience. It's got people from every field. You can create a very simple LinkedIn profile and use it as your career history, whereas a Google Scholar profile would say where you work currently. The LinkedIn would give a whole history of where you've worked for your career history. It connects you with people who are not only academics. You can create a network within LinkedIn, and you can use it to promote your research to your network and outside the network. It's very much like Facebook these days. So suffice it to say, no one academic platform is sufficient, but you should perhaps look for one that's free, ideally, that is appropriate for your discipline, because there are others which are more appropriate for the sciences or for medicine. One that allows you to put enough biographical information that you're comfortable with, that will allow you to be identified uniquely and not confused with someone else. One that allows you to put a photograph of yourself or videos. It's helpful if it is integrated with other social networks, such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, if you feel like using those sites. It's useful if it will also give you statistics on downloads, citations, et cetera, and one that respects your privacy and copyright and doesn't sell your data or use it incorrectly. Another aspect to an online profile is having a researcher ID. A researcher ID is a unique identifier, which is attached to your name. You know, we all think we have a unique, distinctive name, but there are variations on our names. Our names change. We may use none or some of our initials. And there are a lot of people with the same name, like John Smith, let's say. Even at UB, there are about 6 or 8 Dr. Smiths. So an author ID allows distinguishing between authors with a similar name and ensures that all publications by that author are attributed to the correct author in spite of any differences in names. Even think about transliterations from one script to another. They could be quite different using one transliteration scheme, and so then the articles might not be attributed to you, but if you have an ORCID ID or one of these IDs, it would be attributed to you. So there are several which exist. I'm going to speak about 3 because there are pluses and minuses. The ORCID ID, ORC ID, Online Researcher and Collaborator Identification. It's free. It takes about 2 seconds to register. It is the most prominent in the field. It's a non-proprietary alphanumeric code, and it uniquely identifies an academic author or contributor. It's the only one that seems to be gaining a lot of momentum or traction in the field in academia. It's used predominantly for disambiguation of names. So John A. Smith and John B. Smith are quite different. It's now included on journal articles. Often next to the name, you'll see a little green asterisk next to a name, and that means they have an ORCID ID, and you can click on that and it hyperlinks to the profile of the author, and you can see all the rest of their articles if they have put them in. It's very much integrated with other author ID systems and databases, so the data about your articles is easy to import and populate your ORCID ID profile. Scopus is a major database owned by Elsevier, a major publisher. And they have their own author ID system, but it is automatically assigned once you have an article published in the journal that is indexed by Scopus. So ideally, it would group together all publications by that author. However, because it's assigned automatically, you may end up having more than one Scopus ID in their database because of differences in how your name is spelled or represented, and only Scopus can change it. And that's a downside to it. But as I say, Scopus data can easily be transferred into ORCID. A relatively new author ID system is Ballance. It was launched in 2013 as a platform for peer reviewers. It merged with Researcher ID, which was another author ID system run by Web of Science. It was merged with Researcher ID in 2019, last year. And it's used to track publications to your profile and track citations to your publications. But the big plus about Ballance is that it tracks your peer review and journal editing history, which is really helpful for journal editors when they're looking to find reviewers. So if you want to get into peer review, you can create a Ballance profile, and it integrates well with ORCID, so you can use your ORCID ID in order to populate the Ballance profile. The benefits of having an author ID is that it distinguishes between authors with the same or similar names. It ensures that your research is attributed to you and not someone else with a similar name or someone trying to appropriate your identity. And it provides a stable URL for authors to list their research outputs. So there's one place to look that you could go to find a lot of your publications. As an academic, your work includes creating, gathering, and collating research and sharing your research. And the academic profile in your field is really useful. But you can also reach out to a wider audience by using other social media tools such as Twitter, blogs, and videos or podcasts. Now, Twitter is popular. It's called microblogging, short updates or broadcasts. You can also, it's also used by news services and academic journals to basically publish information, current information. But you can use Twitter in an academic field to follow colleagues in research projects. You could, when you have something published, you could post a link to your research paper and a short description of what your paper is about. You could use Twitter if you have a group to solicit advice on the work that you're doing, to get ideas or solve problems. And because it's used a lot by newspapers, journalists, you could respond to articles in real time, you know, contribute to the conversation. You use hashtags with the hash mark and a keyword to tag and search your posts. Blogs are like today's newsletters, but they're different insofar as they are interactive. So you can either give or solicit advice by engaging in new ideas, beginning discussions on research findings, maybe gain feedback before you actually publish a paper. A blog can be read by anybody because it's on the web, and you can expand the reach of your scholarship. And it's like presenting at a virtual conference. There are many options of good blogging tools that you can choose from, and that's a couple that are well known are WordPress and Blogger. A lot of our scholarly output is actually hard to capture, in particular lectures and presentations, which are harder to capture than notes and documents and publications. So creating a video or a podcast can add to your instruction portfolio, and they can be shared in an open educational resource and made available. The difficult thing about videos and podcasts is that they are involved to put together, time-consuming to create, and you need to have AV editing skills to make it work nicely. But they can add to your portfolio. Traditionally, the scholar looked for their work to be quoted in other publications, in such as the Journal Citation Index, which is now called Clarivet Analytics. And they would measure how many times your article from the last 2 issues of a journal would be cited in other literature. This is called the journal impact factor. Equally, they could calculate your impact, how many times your articles were cited, or how many times this particular article was cited. But there are new metrics which can be used to measure all kinds of impact that your research has in the online world. They're called alt metrics. It's a measure of the amount of exposure based on web activity. So the number of times your profile was visited, the number of downloads of your content, number of requests for assistance or advice, requests for collaboration, requests to share data, numbers of times a page was viewed, maybe numbers of times things were mentioned in news reports, that kind of thing. The plum metrics is this amoeba-looking symbol. You'll see it on certain proprietary databases underneath an article, giving what they call item level metrics, which gives insight in new ways that people interact with research output, such as the number of times something was captured or bookmarked or saved into a reference manager, downloaded and put into Mendeley, let's say. How many times your article was mentioned, let's say in blog posts or in the newspaper. In social media, how many times your paper was tweeted, liked, or shared. Citations, how many times it was cited in other articles. That's a more traditional measure. And then usage of your article, how many times it was viewed or downloaded, appears in library holdings, that kind of thing. So look out for this little odd looking symbol because it gives a lot of alternative ways of measuring the impact of your scholarship. So if you don't have a lot of time to set up and manage your online academic profile, there are some 3 essential things you have to do. Well, 4. First thing is you really should get an ORCID ID because it's used by a lot of journals these days, and many online CVs, you could just put the ORCID ID and people viewing your CV electronically would just click on that to view your publications list. But if you don't have a lot of time to spend on social media, at least put together a Google Scholar profile because it will pull together all your publications. Everything will be hyperlinked. So you could call that your publications listing of your CV. It's recommended that you put together a LinkedIn profile, just basic, your headshot, it gives your employment history, and send this to a few key collaborators and co-authors. But there is your employment history for your CV. And join ResearchGate because it's a good scholarly network. Just put in the basics, put in your bio, add a few publications, and highlight your current research interests and projects, and archive a few pre-publication papers. And just go back and visit that every 3 or 4 months. And if you have a bit more time, establish a simple Twitter account with your picture, a bio, send out 1 tweet about your research, or retweet a news story or journal article or journal promotion. Set up a Google Scholar alert to have them send you information about new work by key researchers in your field, or have them alert you when your name is quoted or your university's name is quoted so that you will see what's new and who's using your articles. Or you could use LinkedIn a little bit more by sharing updates of your scholarly activity, linked to your university's LinkedIn account, so that they will then in turn share that to everybody else in their account. And with ResearchGate, just check out every little while to see how your stats are, to see what questions people have or looking for answers to. And you'll see how often your work is read and recommended. ResearchGate will also send you emails. So these academic social networking tools are available. Many are free, fairly easy to use and intuitive, and you can use them to your benefit to promote your career in research. You really need to take advantage of this and make sure the information about you that is out there is correct and valid, current, the good email address, and use it to your advantage. If you need more help in using such tools, I would refer you to the 30-day Impact Challenge to get started. So lots of luck and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Virginia, for giving us a good guide. If you see the last screen here, that is the link for LibGuide. So please take the time when you get access to it to go through some of the LibGuides that have already been compiled. So a lot of things that we've discussed in this Research Essential series is also captured in the LibGuide. And also, please take some time to go through all the online resources that we have provided after every lesson. There's a lot of resources. Some of the resources are available in UB Library. Some of them are online resources. So please take some time. If you need help specifically on certain part of the publication or certain areas that you think that you are still weak, especially in your publication. So without further ado, is there any question? I don't see any question in the chat. Is there any question or some? If anybody wants to directly ask a question, you can raise your hand and I can allow you to speak as well. So this session is good because one of the bad thing about academics is we are not good marketeers. We don't market ourselves well enough. Sometimes you do excellent publication, you spend a lot of time doing the research and you publish, and then the moment you have published, you don't do anything about it. It's just kept in your CV. So so now there are a lot of tools out there, applications out there to market. You even see people are marketing their publication even in social media like Facebook. So the moment you publish something, you see it appearing in Facebook as well. So there's so many ways that you can actually market your work that you're doing. So we will ensure that you get a copy of this presentation and also the recording of this session. If you have missed out any of the 10 sessions that we held over the last 5 weeks, please do not hesitate to email us at research@ub.edu.bs, and we can provide you with all the links of the Zoom recording. So we have it all with us. Okay, there's one question here from Ms. Miller. It was mentioned that to become a part of ResearchGate, one must have a publication. Do you need to be the lead author of such a publication?
No, you don't.
You don't need.
You do not need to be the lead author. You can be a co-author.
Not a problem at all. It can be even a conference paper, which is fine. So ResearchGate, it blends in between social media. You're bringing social media into research. So if you have used ResearchGate, you would realize that there is a scoring mechanism that is put where you actually earn a ResearchGate score. And the ResearchGate score is not just based on your citation. Citation is one of the indicators, but there are other indicators. It's like if you respond to someone's question, you're collaborating with someone, and let's say if you have an author requesting, can I have a full article of this publication that you posted in ResearchGate, and then you have actually complied to him, or you responded to him, or you have assisted him, then your point will actually accumulate accordingly. So I like the way how ResearchGate actually works, but you've got to be very careful in application like ResearchGate, because a lot of the articles that you have that has been published, you've got to be careful because these are all, there's a copyright issue. So an article that has been copyrighted to a particular journal, you cannot put the full article in ResearchGate. You can take maybe the abstract and then put a link there for full article, refer them back to the original journal. So if they have subscribed, they have a subscription towards the journal, then they can get access to it. So if they do not have, then you cannot put that same version of the article in ResearchGate. But you can use another version of the article, maybe the draft version of the article. I see a lot of them getting away with this copyright issue by
Yeah.
actually putting in the draft version.
The pre-publication version of the paper. So it's almost the same, but just not laid out for the journal.
Yes, yes.
So the content is the same, but it just doesn't look the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. Yeah.
Any other remarks or question or any challenges that you are facing, not just for today's lesson, anything from the first lesson that we've started on the introduction topic, literature review, methodology, results and discussion, conclusion, supervision of graduate students, reference managing, peer review and publication process, and then today's session in capacity, building your profile. If there's any question, please do not hesitate to contact us, not just during this session, but anytime. We are always available. It's just an email away. This session, so in fact, this is going to be the final session that we're going to have it in this manner. What's happening now is we're working to move this to become a fully online session. So maybe for the fall, for those of you who have missed this out and who wants a refresher or whatever that we have done in this lesson, we will start an online class for this. So you're free to get in and out of the program based on your availability and manage your time accordingly. So in that session, we're going to put in more resources, more interactive sessions involved, where you will be required to first come with a draft of an article, and then we will take you through the article, just like how we have done in this lesson, but using your article. You'll work on the article and then you post it for discussion. So we are going to do that in the online session. So I'm working on it now. So hopefully that will further help you if you have the first draft of your article, and then we'll try to help you. We're not an expert in every field, but we know more or less on how you should structure the paper accordingly, and how do you go through the whole peer review process and publication process, and how do you respond to ensure that the probability for you to get your papers published is much higher. So that is coming soon for the fall. At the same time, if there are any other areas of research skills or research essentials that you think that you are lacking, and you think that we should be running a workshop on that, then please do not hesitate to contact us as well. We will be glad to, if there's a lot of needs on a particular area, then we will be glad to actually put that up accordingly. So in fact, even for this session, when you have registered, one of the questions that we asked in the registration is, what are the areas that you want us to focus on? And we are trying to compile that list as well. So if there are a lot of interest on certain areas, then we will actually try to focus on that area for the fall session. Because moving to fall, you will see more and more sessions going into the online modality. So, and we realized as well, when we were in campus, the number of people that came into the session was much lower. In the online modality that we went now, not even online, sorry, the remote presentation that we've been doing now through Zoom, the number of participants that have come into the session have increased. We've also got participants coming outside the Bahamas that have found out about this session, and they have actually come in as well. So we do get feedback from people outside as well. So we do hope you have benefited from this session. So if there is no further question, any last word from you, Ms. Ballance?
No, thank you everybody for coming, and I appreciate the support. I hope that you've been able to glean something, and that we can all move together to make more research available to demystify the process.
Okay.
Okay.
So thank you, and stay safe. We are still not totally out of this pandemic, so please still stay safe, and we hope to see you in our future sessions. Bye-bye now.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.